Here's how to approach these 10 questions. -3 plus 4. I owe you $3, but I have $4 in my pocket. I now owe you -$1. -3 plus -4. I owe Johnny $3 and I owe Sally $4. Combine my debt together, I owe a total of $7. -3 minus 2. I owe you $3, but I want to borrow $2 more. I now am going to owe you $5. If you think about it in this scenario, it kind of makes no sense. -3 minus a -2. So that's why I like to think about negatives as direction changes. So if I'm doing a direction change and then another direction change, well, that's just going to turn that to a positive. So really, -3 minus a -2 is -3 plus 2, just like what we had over here. So therefore, that's going to be a -1. -2 times 8. Remember, that's just repeated multiplication. So -2 plus -2, 8 times, that's simply going to be a -16. Notice, a negative times a positive gives me a negative number. So if I think about a -2, a repeated addition of a -8, it kind of gets a little confusing. But you can think of a negative times a negative is still going to be a positive 16. So remember these two rules, because when we think about division, it kind of gets confusing. We know -6 when we're doing division, that is repeated subtraction, or you could think about that as grouping. -6 grouped into 3 different groups is going to leave me with a -2. But again, a negative divided by a positive gives me a negative. So while this kind of gets confusing of how do you break up into -3 groups, or if you think about that as financially, you can still reason, though, a positive divided by a negative is going to give me a negative, and we know with 6 and 3, the answer is always going to be 2. Now, just like what we had over here, -2 times -8 is going to give me a positive 16. -6 divided by -3 is going to give me now a positive 2. For number 10, I actually don't have an answer for number 10. But if you have a question that you'd like for me to solve on a video, then go ahead and write it down in the comments down below, and it might just show up on a video.